Hello students, welcome back to video lecture of data communication subject. In the present video, we will discuss about OSI model. So the OSI model was initially defined by a common organization or international organization called as ISO. So the International Organization for Standardization developed the Open System Interconnection, that is OSI reference model, in order to connect the computers. So their architecture, which was basically called as Open System Interconnect, that is OSI model. So as I mentioned before, an ISO standard that covers all aspects of network communication. So that is Open System Interconnection model. It was first introduced in the late 1970s. So the ISO standard, that is International Organization for Standardization, is the organization which developed the OSI model. The major purpose of OSI model is to show how we can communicate the different systems without changes to the logic of the underlying hardware and software. So it is not mandatory that we have to modify the hardware or softwares while connecting or while communicating to different devices or systems. So OSI model is not a protocol. It is a model for understanding and designing a network architecture which is more flexible, robust in nature. So these are the 7 layers which was specified by ISO. So the first layer is physical layer, the second one is data link layer, network layer, application transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So we can have the 7 layered architecture under OSI model. So each layer has its own functionality which is defined here. The physical layer which is nothing but media, signal and binary transmission, and data link layer which is responsible in order to transmit the data, that is packet transmission based on the address. So network layer, that is routes the data to different LAN or WANs. The transport layer which ensures the delivery of entire file or message. The session layer start and stop the session, and presentation layer which represent how the data can be transmitted, that is data representation and encryption of the data. So the application layer which is application specific, that is network processes the applications. So now we'll take one by one. First we'll take the application layer. So in the case of application layer, is responsible for accessing the network by user. The application layer which specifies how the user can access the network. It provides user interface and other supporting services. It also provides user interface and some additional informations or supporting services such as email, remote file access, file transfer, such as additional services like an email, remote file access, file transfer, sharing the database, and some set of directory services. So I can say that the application layer is used by end user software such as web browsers and email clients. It also provides protocol that allows software to send and receive the information and present meaningful data to the user. So here we can, in the application layer, we can have some set of protocols like HTTP, file transfer protocol, in order to transfer the protocol between any two devices. Post office protocol, in short we can call it as POP. Simple mail transfer protocol, that is SMTP. Domain name system, that is DNS, followed by directory services. So these are some set of protocols we can use under application layer. So next we'll take basic functions of application layer. The first function is network virtual terminal. The first function is network virtual terminal. It is a software version of physical terminal that allow a user to log on to a remote host. So the network virtual terminal which is a software version of physical terminal, which is a software version of physical terminal which allows a user in order to log on to a remote host. The user can log on to the remote host by considering the software version of the physical terminal, which is called as network virtual terminal. The second function is file transfer, access and management, that is FTAM. So this allows the user in order to access the file in the remote host. So here file transfer access management allows the user in order to access the files from the remote host. From the remote host, the files can be accessed by the host. So he can retrieve the files and manage the files in a remote computer. So FTAM, which allows the host in order to access the file, the file transfer access management, which allows the user in order to access the remote host while accessing the files or managing the files or retrieving the files. So the next application is mail transfer. So that is email service. In short we can call it as email service. So which that is nothing but email forwarding, storage as well as other related services under this category. So the last functionality is directory service. Directory service which includes access for global information and distributed database. So directory service which gives the access for globally shared information and distributed database. So these are the major functionalities of application layer. First one is network virtual terminal, which allows the user in order to access the remote host by considering the software version of physical terminal. So the second one is file transfer access management, which allows the user to access the remote host and he can retrieve the files as well as he can manage the files from the remote host. So the third functionality is mail transfer, which includes email forwarding, storage and other related services under this category. So the last one is directory service, which includes access for the global information as well as distributed database. So next we'll take presentation layer. In the case of presentation layer, presentation layer which deals with some set of syntax and semantics. The presentation layer deals with syntax and semantics. Semantics of the information which is to be exchanged between the nodes. So the presentation layer prepares data for the application layer. It defines how two devices can encode, the data, encrypt and compress the data. So it is received correctly on the other end, that is the receiver end of the network. The presentation layer takes any data transmitted by the application layer and prepares it for the transmission over the session layer. So it receives the data from the previous layer, that is the application layer, and it prepares the data and it will transmit the data to the next layer, that is the session layer. So the basic functionalities are translation, encryption and compression. So the first will take translation. So different computers use different encoding system. So we'll be having different computers. For example, so this system may use one kind of encoding system, system 2 may consider other encoding system. The presentation layer maintains interoperability between these two encoding systems. So the translation required if the two devices uses two different encoding system, and that work will be done by the presentation layer. The second functionality is encryption. Encryption is transforming sender information to the other form. So suppose if the sender 1 is sending some data, so while transmitting this data, and we can modify the data, or we can what we can say is encryption is transforming sender information to other form. So this will be in one form, the sender data. While transmitting, we can encrypt the data, and we can send it to the destination node. So once again, at the destination node or at the receiver side, we can decrypt back in order to get the original information. So that means encryption is transforming sender information to one more form, and we can transmit the encrypted data through the transmission medium, and once again after receiving at the receiver side, we can get back our original data by decrypting it. So the last functionality is compression. Compression is a technique of reducing number of bits. Compression means reducing number of bits. Compression means reducing number of bits required to represent the data. So these three are the major functionalities of presentation layer. First one is translation, second one is encryption, and compression, that means reducing number of bits. So next we'll take session layer. So we can say that the session layer is network dialog controller. Session layer is network dialog controller. So the session layer creates communication channel called as sessions. Session layer which will create the communication channels which is called as sessions between two devices or between the devices. So the session layer is a network dialog controller which establishes and synchronizes the interaction between the communication systems. So in the case of session layer, under session layer, basically it creates a communication channel which is called as sessions, as well as it maintains as well as establishes the synchronization between the communication systems. So the session layer can also set checkpoints during the data transfer. If the session is interrupted, the device can resume the data transfer from the last checkpoint. So in the case of session layer, it also sets some points which are called as checkpoints during the data transfer. If suppose any interruption comes, the devices can stop or resume the data transfer from the previous checkpoint or from the last checkpoint. So the major functionalities are dialog control and synchronization. So first we'll take what is the meaning of dialog control. Communication between two processes takes place in half duplex or full duplex mode. So while communicating, while communication, the type of communication may be either half duplex or full duplex. Full duplex. The session layer manages the dialog control for the communication. So irrespective of the type of the communication, either it may be half duplex or full duplex, the session layer manages as well as maintains the dialog control for the communication. The second functionality is the synchronization. The session layer adds the synchronization points into the stream of data. So there should be the synchronization between the sending the data as well as the receiving receiver side. So here the session layer adds synchronization points into the stream of the data, so that we can maintain the speed at which the sender is sending the data as well as the receiver is receiving the data. Transport layer. The transport layer is responsible for delivery of message from one process to the another process. The network does the host to destination delivery of individual packets by considering it is an independent packet, but the transport layer ensures the whole message arrives in the same order as it is received without any error and processed. So the transport layer takes the data transferred in the session layer and breaks it into segments. So here in the case of transport layer, the data can be called as segments. So it is responsible for reassembling the segments on the receiving end, turning it back into data that can be used for the session layer. The network layer is responsible for individual packet delivery, but the transport layer is responsible for in order to transmit the entire message. The transport layer carries out flow control, sending data at the rate that matches the connection speed of the receiving device. So in the case of transport layer, it maintains the flow control. Why? Because suppose if this is the sender and this is the receiver, and sender is sending the data with a high speed, but receiver is not capable of receiving the data. So at that instant some packets may be dropped in between. In order to maintain the network performance, the flow control is mandatory. That means the sending data rate as well as the receiving data rate, that should be same. So the transport layer matches the sending data rate as well as the receiving data rate, and it also maintains the error control. That means only error-free data can be received at the destination. So it will check whether the data is received correctly correctly at the destination. It checks whether the data is correctly received at the destination. So if it is not so, it will request in order to resend the data. It will request in order to resend the same data. So the major functionalities are, the first one is port addressing. Computer performs several operations simultaneously, either process to process delivery or point to point delivery. So in the case of process to process delivery, that means specific process of one computer must deliver to the specific process of another computer. So this will be at the starting point and this process will be at the destination. So the process to process delivery means the sending process, that means some specific process of one computer, this computer is sending, is delivering a specific process to the destination. The transport layer header therefore includes the port address. So port addressing means while using process to process delivery of the data, so we have to include the physical port address. That means the transport layer header includes the port address. So we have to include the port address in order to perform the process to process delivery of the data. And the network layer delivers packet to the desired computer or transport layer, gets the message to the correct process on that computer. So the second functionality is segmentation and reassembly. So as we know, here the message will be divided into entire, this is, suppose if this is the message, it will be divided into segments. It will be divided into segments and each segment contains a sequence number. Suppose if I'll give the sequence number as 1, 2, 3 sequence number, which enables the transport layer to reassemble the same message at the destination. So segmentation and reassembly means entire message will be divided into different segments, and for each segment we can give the sequence number. Once again at the destination, the transport layer it can reassemble the message or segments in order to get back the original message. So the next functionality is connection control. The transport layer performs connectionless or connection oriented service with the destination machine. So connection control may be either connection oriented or connectionless. Connectionless or connection oriented service depending upon the type of the destination machine. So the next two functionalities are important one, that is flow control as well as error control. So the transport layer performs end-to-end flow control while data link layer performs it across the links. So the data rate of sending as well as receiving, there should be some kind of synchronization, else without that some set of packets may be dropped in between. But in order to maintain the better performance of the network, flow control is mandatory and which can be done by the transport layer. So next one is error control. So error control at the transport layer, which can be end-to-end basis. The transport layer ensures error-free transmission of the message. So it will ensures error-free transmission of messages. So these are the major functionalities of transport layer. The first one is port addressing in order to perform process to process communication or process to process delivery of the data. The second functionality is segmentation and reassembly, connection control, flow and error control. So next we'll take network layer. So in the case of network layer, which is responsible for delivery of packets, from the source to the destination. The network layer has two main functions. One is breaking up segments into network packets and reassembling the packets at the receiving end. The other is routing the packet by discovering the best path across the physical network. So it need to identify which is the best path in order to transmit the data. The network layer uses network addresses, typically internet protocol addresses, to route the packets to the destination node. So the functionalities like logical addressing and routing. So we'll take what is the meaning of logical addressing. In a case of data link layer, which implements the physical addressing. So in the case of data link layer, which implements the physical address, when the packet passes the network boundary. Whenever the packet crosses the network boundary, an addressing system is needed in order to distinguish the source as well as the destination. So therefore the network layer performs these functionalities. So the network layer adds a header to the packet. Network layer just adds, so if this is a packet, it will add the header informations to the packet of the upper layer, which includes the logical address of the sender and the receiver. So what exactly the network layer adds? So it adds its header, which includes the logical address of the source as well as the destination. So the second functionality is routing. The network layer route or switch the packets to its final destination or to the receiving site within the network. So the routing specifies how exactly the packets can be transmitted, via which particular path the packets can be transmitted within the network. So next one is data link layer. So data link layer is responsible for transmitting frames. The data link layer is responsible for in order to transmit the frames from one node to the other one. That means to the next node. The data link layer establishes and terminates a connection point between two physically connected nodes. So the data link layer which establishes as well as which will terminate one physical connection between the nodes. It breaks all the packets into frames and sends them from source to destination. This layer is composed of two parts. One is LLC, that is logical link control, which is nothing but logical link control, LLC, which identifies network protocols, also performs error checking and synchronization of frames, and the other one is media access control, which uses MAC addresses to connect devices and define permissions to transmit and receive the data. So the LLC is logical link control, which identifies the type of the network protocol. It performs error checking and synchronization of frames. So these are the responsibilities of LLC. The second one is MAC, media access control, which uses a special address called as MAC address to connect the devices as well as in order to define some set of permissions to transmit and receive the data. So MAC address can be used in order to define some set of permissions as well as transmit and receive the data. So the major functionalities are framing, physical addressing, flow control, error control and access control. So first we'll take framing. In the case of framing, the frames received from the network layer is divided into manageable data called as frames. The data will be received from the network layer. The data will be received. So in the data link layer, the received data will be divided into manageable data called as frames. So the process by which the message or data can be divided into manageable data units called as frames is called as framing. The second one is physical addressing. The second functionality of data link layer is physical addressing. When frames are to be sent into different LANs, the data link layer adds the header informations into the frames in order to define the sender or the receiver. So when these frames need to be exchanged between the devices, and to these frames some header informations will be added at the data link layer. So these header information which may includes the source information or destination information. So followed by flow control and error control. So when the rate of the data transmitted and the rate of data at the receiver side, if it is not same, the data rate of the transmitter and receiver, if it is not same, so at that instant there may be a chance of data lost. In order to maintain the better performance of the network, the data link layer imposes the flow control so that we can maintain the data rate of transmitter as well as the receiver. So next one is error control. So the data link layer checks or detects any kind of error has been occurred while transmitting the data. So the last one is access control. While multiple devices are connected to the same link, so multiple devices are connected to the same link, the data link layer determines which device has control over the link. So this data link layer specifies which among these n number of devices or multiple devices, which respective device has control over the link. So that is called as access control. So the last one is physical layer. Physical layer is the lowest layer of the OSI model. The physical layer coordinates the functions required to transmit a bit of stream over the communication channel. The physical layer, which is responsible for the physical cable or wireless connection between the network nodes. It also defines the connector and electrical cable or wireless technology connecting the devices, and is also responsible for transmission of raw data, which is simply a series of zeros and ones. Physical layer. The physical layer basically specifies the physical characteristics of interfaces and medium, and which specifies the representation of bits. That means the physical layer encodes the bit stream into electrical or optical signals. So we'll be having the data in terms of patterns of zeros and ones, and these data will be converted into electrical or optical signals. Electrical or optical signals. The representation of bits is nothing but the physical layer encodes the bit stream, that means zeros and ones, into electrical or optical signals. So the next functionality is data rate. The physical layer defines the duration of a bit, which is called as data rate or the transmission rate. So duration of each bit which is occupied on the transmission medium is called as data rate or the transmission rate. The last functionality is synchronization of bits. The transmission rate and receiving rate must be same. So this is done by the synchronized clock at the sender as well as the receiver. The physical layer performs this synchronization function so that we can maintain the clock rate between sender and the receiver. So these four are the major functionalities of physical layer. The first one is physical characteristics of interface and medium, representation of bits, data rate and synchronization of bits. So next we will take the advantages of OSI model. The first advantage is OSI model helps the user as well as operators of the computer networks in order to determine the required hardware and software to build their network, and understand and communicate the process followed by the components communicating across a network, which also performs troubleshooting by identifying which network layer is causing an issue and focusing efforts on that layer. So troubleshooting is also possible, and under troubleshooting which identifies which respective network layer is causing an issue, so that we can focus on that respective layer and we can identify what kind of issue has been arised with respect to that layer. Lack of OSI model's success. First one is OSI model was completed when the TCP bar IP was fully in place and already a lot of time and money had been spent on TCP bar IP suite. The second one is some layers in the OSI model were never fully defined. Even though we can have some set of services or we can define some set of services under presentation and session layer, actual protocols for these two layers were not fully defined and in the case of OSI model. So the last one is when the OSI was implemented by an organization in a different application, it did not show a high enough level of performance while compared with the TCP bar IP protocol suite.